Time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. Today's episode, we're talking all things automation, how to save you time, how to grow your business. We're talking to someone who's an automations expert and a podcaster, which is super exciting. Joe Casabona, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Hey, Brandon, thanks so much for having me. Also, always good to talk to a fellow Royal.
That is right. We just found out we both went to the University of Scranton. Small world.
Yes.
Super cool. But I want us to actually start with the podcasting. I just read you have 3 podcasts. Is that true?
Yes. I have 3 active, 4 kind of there. My main show is called The Streamlined Solopreneur. That's where I talk about automations and systems to build a spacious life. Streamlined Podcaster, which is my updated kind of in batches. I take the advice I'm doling out on Streamlined Solopreneur that is podcast specific and move it over there. Joe's Audio Notes is my inconsistent but frequent voice notes podcast. So I usually record that from my phone and upload it, just about stuff I'm thinking about around business, solopreneurship, parenting, whatever, life. And then I also have a podcast called Start Local, which I have 2 other co-hosts for. So they're the faces, and I'm kind of the behind the scenes guy most of the time, where we highlight businesses and organizations in Chester County, PA, which is where I currently live.
That's super cool. I have this one and one other one that I dabble with. I couldn't imagine any more than that. But you're the automations expert, and that's probably why you make it feasible.
Yeah,
So then
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think I had a chronic problem for a long time of not saying no to enough things. And instead of saying no for a while, I was just like, well, let me see how much I can do without doing everything. And so, some podcasts have fallen by the wayside, but I've always maintained kind of like 3 active because they light up like different parts of my brain and interests.
I like it. Well, it's probably, well, I know it's not probably, it's definitely a lot to keep up with that, along with doing everything else to run a business. So let's dive into automations, because if you're not automating things in today's world, your business just won't last very long. I'm convinced, or it'll be so bloated with people that are unnecessary, it still won't last very long. So we're talking specifically automations. Your expertise is solopreneurs, podcasting, like you said, but I think everyone can learn from this stuff. So where do you typically start with automations? What's the lowest hanging fruit for people typically?
Yeah, I think there are lots of different types of automations. I think the lowest hanging fruit is like a small task that you have to do frequently. So, one example is um, automatically doing automatic bill pay, right? Is one. So you don't have to remember to pay your bills. You set up automatic bill pay, right? So that your water doesn't get shut off or whatever. On the business side of things, what that could look like is, when a file is put into Dropbox, email my editor or email my VA, or when I update a status in Notion, again, email my VA or, upload this file to wherever. And then those things could be the basis for bigger automations, right? So I just set up one this morning. I went to this conference last week and was basically told, like, hey, you need some presence on social media if you want to grow your mailing list. And I hate social media. And so I need to do it my way. And I write a newsletter. I love long form writing, and I put the newsletters in Notion. I will send it out on my Kit account to my mailing list, but then I have my VA take it and post it on both my personal blog and my Substack on different dates so that my personal blog becomes the primary link. according to Google. Whatever's there first is usually the primary. Um, but then I also have an automation in Zapier that says like, hey, when a new entry is added to this database, take the text, filter it through ChatGPT. I have this really long prompt that's like really specific about how I want this post to be formatted, and don't reword it. Just like make sure it follows this structure, and then add that back into the database, the Notion database, as the LinkedIn post, so I can just copy and paste it into LinkedIn. And so instead of me like sitting there going, all right, what's like a LinkedIn friendly hook for this newsletter? How long should it be? What should I include? What's my call to action? Um, I'm using Zapier with a combination of AI to do that for me. And again, I'm really specific about like, don't add your own stuff here. Only use my words rearranged for LinkedIn.
Yeah, that stuff is it's a huge time saver, but it also skirts the line of, posting using AI or creating content using AI, which I know you're absolutely not doing in that scenario. When you tell it to be specific and don't reword, don't hallucinate, all of those fun things.
Yeah.
Um, I wish more people knew how simple it could be, because you're already probably doing the work once and you're just
Mhm.
repurposing it. So in that vein, though, it sounds like you're taking text to text. Do you ever use it to go text to image and maybe create a visual story out of the blog post you write?
I've used it to generate like accompanying images, and the prompt I'll use for that is something like summarize this blog post into 1 to 2 sentences, and then use those 2 sentences to generate a prompt to generate an image. Because usually when I say like, look at this blog post and generate an image for it, it misses the mark because it's not. There's too many things, right? And so I found that to be better. Um, ChatGPT especially is getting so much better at this, but when I was doing it, like all of them kind of looked the same and weird. Um, and it worked out really well for me when I did this thing last year called Podcast Advent, because I wanted them all to kind of look the same. It's like I talked about this, but it's like about Christmas and Advent, and like definitely incorporate that. And it did a really good job at that. Um, I should probably revisit it, especially now that they've gotten text really good, uh actual words and stuff, and it's really impressive. So I haven't done that in a while, but I have done that.
Yeah, I will say what you said though has been the key, for me at least too, where to go from blog post or newsletter or whatever long form content right to image is still really difficult. Like the
Mm-hmm.
tools, they spit out some weird stuff. Um, I've noticed if you insert 3 or 4 steps in between your start and your end point, you can refine that prompt down.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually do get really good quality stuff. Everybody's talking about, like, everybody knows the prompt is what you get. The quality of the input is the quality of the output. So the more time you spend on that, which it sounds like you've dialed in for your blog to LinkedIn, that's where the magic comes. So what tools are you using? You said Zapier, you said ChatGPT. I know I personally use N8N a lot, linking
Mm-hmm.
other various tools together, kind of like Zapier. But what are you using? What are your favorite automation tools?
Yeah, you are now the third person to mention N8N to me in the last week, which means I have to
It's a
check it out
sign. You
now.
got to
I
get on it.
I know I have that rule, right? Because like when someone recommends a TV show, they say like, "Oh, you know what TV show you would really like?" What they really mean is, "I really like this TV show."
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel the same way. Like it's a great tool, like this thing I just discovered and have used once. But you're the third person, and so I'm definitely gonna check it out now. My favorite automation tools are Zapier, Make to some extent. I love Make for me. I don't recommend that for, I got my master's in software engineering at the U. Um, Also, I learned that like only people from the University of Scranton call it
I
the
was gonna
U, and
say,
people
like,
get
that the
so
U
mad.
is Miami, but only
Yeah,
people
right.
who went to school call it the U. It's the
Yeah.
funniest thing.
That's why I felt confident dropping it on you, right? Uh, and so like make.com I think is better for people who can tolerate a higher learning curve, because there are like, the reason it's cheaper is because it abstracts away some of the ease that Zapier has, but I do like it. And then on the AI side, I've been really heavy with ChatGPT for general research and code. I've been doing a lot of vibe coding lately, and then Claude for general creative work. I don't like having AI. I think we probably established I don't like having it write for me. But I will use it a lot for rubber ducking, which is a term again in programming that essentially means like programmers would keep rubber ducks on their desk and then talk problems through with it. Like just speaking it out loud helps you arrive at a solution. I think we've all probably experienced that. You go to a friend and you're like, "Hey, I'm really struggling with this," and then you talk through it, and then you're like, "I have the solution. Thanks for your help. Like, thanks for just standing there." So programmers use a rubber duck. I've been using Claude for that, where I'm like, "Hey, I'm thinking through this thing. What am I not considering? Like, what is outside of my bubble?" And the really important thing that I include in every prompt or in the project is, don't just blindly agree with me. Push back on my assumptions. Because otherwise, AI is like, "You're absolutely right. You're the smart." It's like, it's more flattering than my mom, and I'm Italian. And so, like,
I am too. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. But it is like, great idea, Joe. This is inspirational. Like, hang on.
Yeah, no,
I said I want chicken
I'm
for
wrong.
dinner.
Right?
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so I learned programmers are crazy. Is that
A little
is
bit.
that what you're saying? Because they talk to rubber
Like,
ducks? Okay.
yeah, I don't even have like a physical rubber duck. I just kind of talk to the air, and my wife has come down to my office, and she's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "Just me, just no one, the
Yeah.
ether." Um, but
Which I think
like,
is okay.
honestly, yeah, right. It has helped me, because I'll say like, "Oh," and then I do this. Oh, and then like, just, I don't know, just like hearing it outside of your head, I think leads you down a different path.
I agree. I think talking out
Yeah.
loud is a beautiful strategy, but
Yeah.
the second you add a rubber duck, it's where I'm gonna question you a little bit.
Maybe this is why people have dogs, because then they talk to their dog and it's not as crazy.
There you go. There you go. That's funny. I will say though, I think that's a brilliant tip, and I've done this before with Gemini is my AI of choice. But I tell it to even analyze meeting notes, like meeting transcripts with our team,
Mhm.
and I'll say, go in and analyze these responses. I know I'm positive and optimistic all the time. I really only see what's working first, and it takes me a long time to see the
Mm,
negative side. So
yeah.
I remember one meeting where it was super mean. I was like, go play devil's advocate, go analyze this transcript. And one person on our team followed somebody else and said, I agree with Dave, what Dave said. And I think that's a good way to go. And it said, um, Corey seems like he's really weak and doesn't have any thoughts for himself because he agrees with other people. I was like, Gemini, chill out, please.
Dang. That is
You need that. I
savage.
think not to that
Yeah.
extent. You could tone it down a
Yeah.
little bit, but having that someone else or something else that can think intelligently, not like a rubber duck, to poke holes in your plan, just helps you get to the solution way faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think I don't want people to hear what I'm not saying, right? Is, don't let AI think for you.
No.
Let it surface things that you would have never thought of, right? Because that's what it's doing. Like, a large language model, I think we all probably know this now, right? But it's just like, it's essentially doing extremely advanced word association. So when I say I'm thinking about this thing, what am I missing? It knows it knows a lot about me. And so it knows my background and my preferences and prejudices and whatever. Prejudice and like the things I'm predisposed to thinking, not like prejudice against other people. Um and then it could push back and present different perspectives, and I appreciate that, cuz even if I talk to like the 5 closest people in my orbit, like we're all kind of similar. We're attracted to people we're similar to. Um and it's really good to get things that I wouldn't have heard from like my mastermind group, or I wouldn't have thought of myself.
Yeah, no, it's a great strategy. So why don't we talk about we'll wrap up with this. Give me either some or one of your favorite automations that either you use or you've helped other people implement that's one of the biggest time savers throughout the week?
I think far and away the biggest one is my podcast processing. It's like a series of automations. So I will talk about the post-production stuff, and leave the pre-production stuff for another time. So once I am done recording an episode with a guest, I take everything. I use Riverside, so I download the files from Riverside. The files get renamed. I use an app called Hazel for this, and moved into a folder called Needs Editing. The folder called Needs Editing is watched by Zapier or Make, whatever it is. And it looks for an episode number. I always include an episode number because the episode number is related back to Notion, and the status is updated in Notion to out for edit. And my editor gets an email with a Google Doc that has all the show notes and any edit notes it needs. Once my editor is done editing it, he uploads it back to the production folder in Dropbox, again with that episode number. The status is updated to ready for scheduling. And then my VA gets an email saying like, hey, this is ready for scheduling. All of the show notes are here. I've been using AI to write the show notes and description. Always include a disclaimer at the bottom that AI wrote it based on the transcript. So if I haven't written something, people know I haven't written it. Sometimes I have to change it a lot, and I'm like, nah, it's not what I was going for, but it's getting a lot better lately. And so my VA knows to take the files, and she has the SOP for publishing it to my podcast host, to YouTube, and to Substack, and then she updates it to scheduled for publishing or whatever the status is. So when I am done recording an episode, I record the intro, I ship out the summary, and I don't see it again until it hits my podcast feed. And so like this alone probably saves me like 10 hours a week because I'm not editing. I'm not even sending emails saying it needs to be edited. I'm not scheduling it. So I'm not like uploading the files or copying and pasting anything. And I'm not sending emails to anybody telling them that it needs to happen. They are getting all that stuff automatically. And it took some time to set up, but I would say like the 5 hours it maybe took me to set up, recording the SOP for my VA and connecting everything and testing it, is well worth the investment because it does save me a legitimate amount of time.
Yeah, those things, they're so frustrating, by the way, to set up workflows and automations, but the payoff even in the short term is so massive that it's like, okay, just push through, work through it. So what I'm going to do based on that is I'm going to take this transcript. I'm going to tell Gemini, spit out this process for me that Joe just described for uploading podcasts. Now, knowing the tools that I use, give me the step-by-step workflow to go set this up for myself. And I will save 4 hours on what took you 5 hours.
Yeah. And I haven't looked at Zapier. I was talking to somebody and they were like, oh, have you been using like AI agents? And like up until this point, I feel like marketing teams have stolen the word agent and just like rebranded chatbots as that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I've built Zaps to do a bunch of things. He's like, oh no. And he showed me the Zapier agent interface. And so maybe you could even just have it write in a prompt for an agent, right? And kind of do all that stuff yourself. And then now you're saving 4.5 hours on what took me 5 hours, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the agentic side of things is a little bit controlled by marketing at this point because a lot of agents are really just workflows.
Yeah,
But true
like how
agentic bots are powerful.
It's like how cell phone companies started using 4G or 5G before. Like 4G and 5G mean something. Like it means fourth generation, fifth generation, and it's related to upload and download speeds. And like T-Mobile has to say like 5G Ultra or whatever, and because marketing companies stole it from the technical people.
Yeah, I saw I don't know if it was like Xfinity or something is coming out with 10G or something. Like you can't go from 5th generation to 10th generations. there's
Yeah.
there's a
It's
missing
just
middle.
madness. Yeah.
I love it. Joe, this was a lot of fun. I'm quite sure you saved our audience a whole lot of time as long as they go implement this stuff. And you have a special giveaway for them that I don't even know what it is because you said you were going to make it up on the spot. So here's the link. What is it?
Yeah, if you go to casabona.org/Brandon, we've talked a lot about AI and automations. And so you will get a free copy of my automations database, which includes my AI swipe file. And so 40 automations sounds overwhelming. What I would encourage you to do is pick one and grab the template. It could be a Zapier template. It could be a Make Blueprint, but it can serve as just an ideas list. Oh, I see Joe is using this tool. What does that tool do? Oh, Joe uses Todoist, right? Oh, Joe word vomits into an app and then magically has a list of tasks in Todoist. So use it as ideas for what's possible. And you can, again, find that over at casabona.org/Brandon.
Joe word vomits. Joe needs to go see a doctor. I think that's...
Yes, I word vomit. I mean, I'm from New York. Like I've word vomit. I just say a lot of things, but that last one is real. Like usually I'll work up until the moment my kids have school. I have to go pick my kids up from school. And so in the car, I'll just be like, here's everything I didn't do and everything I'm thinking of. And I'll like dictate that, and the transcript automatically gets sent to ChatGPT, which comes up with a comma separated list of the tasks that I said I had to do. And then Zapier turns that into to-do items that it sends to Todoist.
That's pretty awesome. I don't know if that one necessarily saves you time. I mean, I know it does, but the mind clutter is huge on that one.
Yeah, because this is why I do it, right? I want to be fully present with my kids. And if I'm thinking about everything I didn't do, I'm not fully present with them.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode is gold. Joe, thank you so much for stopping by.
My pleasure, Brandon. Thanks so much for having me.
Wherever you're watching, listening, the link to the 40 automation blueprints is down below in the show notes or description. We'll catch you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony